What happens when your marriage becomes a list of roles to play? James and Elise still loved each other, but somewhere between the mortgage, the kids' schedules, and the aging parents, they forgot how to be lovers. This is what happens when a relationship becomes a business partnership running on autopilot. They had a good marriage, a solid one. They were a well-oiled machine. He was the breadwinner, she was the caregiver. They were both the household managers. They had systems, spreadsheets for bills, a shared calendar color-coded with obligations. Their conversations were efficient. Did you call the plumber? The kids need dentist appointments. Your mother's prescription is ready. They were a perfect team, and they were deeply, quietly lonely. They stopped asking, "How do you feel?" and started asking, "What needs to be done?" Romance was a line item buried at the bottom of a to-do list, perpetually unchecked. Intimacy was scheduled, if it happened at all, between exhaustion and the next morning's alarm. They were running a small, successful corporation called Family, and they had fired the department of fun, of flirting, of foolish, tender connection. Elise would watch James at the kitchen island, frowning at his laptop, stressed about a quarterly report. She saw her husband, the man whose laugh used to make her stomach flip. Now she mostly saw the provider, a role, a function. And she knew when he looked at her, he saw the coordinator, the problem solver, the keeper of the domestic peace. Their roles had replaced their romance. They were living a life built on duty, where desire had quietly packed its bags. The crisis wasn't a dramatic affair, it was just a Thursday. They were side by side in bed, both on their phones. Elise scrolled past an old photo from their honeymoon. Two beaming faces, sunburned and silly, tangled up in a hammock without a care in the world. She looked at James next to her, his brow furrowed at a work email. In that moment, the gulf between then and now felt oceanic. They had conquered so much together, but they had lost the very thing that made them an asterisk. She didn't know what to say, so she just showed him the photo. "Look at us," she said, her voice barely a whisper. James took the phone. He stared. His frown softened, then turned into something sadder. "We were so young," he said. "Not just young," Elise ventured, "we were us." The silence that followed wasn't the usual comfortable, tired silence. It was a charged one, full of recognition. They had become expert partners in operation and novice lovers. They knew how to run a household, but not how to reach across the emotional space between them. They didn't plan a grand romantic getaway. They started, clumsily, to dismantle the business. They instituted a no logistics after 8 p.m. rule. They started asking terrible, wonderful, open-ended questions again. What's a dream you've forgotten about? What made you feel alive today, even for a second? The first few times, it felt awkward, like speaking a forgotten language. One night, instead of talking about his day, James confessed he missed playing the guitar. And Elise, instead of listing groceries, admitted she was terrified of her parents' declining health. They weren't solving problems, they were just sharing. For the first time in years, they were sharing their inner weather, not their task lists. The love wasn't gone. It had just been buried under the relentless avalanche of adult responsibilities. It was still there, like a familiar melody they had to relearn how to hum. A marriage can survive on roles and responsibilities, but it only thrives on attention and affection. When you stop tending to the heart of your relationship, it doesn't die loudly. It just grows quiet until one day you realize you're living with a beloved colleague instead of your soulmate. Reconnection ISNT about adding more to the listed S about daring to take a few things off and leaving space for the person, not just the partner, to reappear. If James and Elisa's story mirrors the quiet routine of your own relationship, consider sharing this with someone who might understand. Sometimes, seeing the pattern is the first step to changing the rhythm. Thanks for watching.